Kogo News Time, 6:41.
When it comes to auto insurance rates, are you paying more than you should? A new study claims some insurance companies are discriminating against people not only based on gender, but marital status.
What? Speaker coach, the author of Unleash the Power of Diversity, Debjani Biswas, is joining us on the Kogo News Live line. And Debjani, what did this study find?
So it's very interesting, LaDonna. Basically, this researcher, Douglas Heller, he just asked for quotes, and he gave the exact same information, the same driving record, the same car, and he just changed the gender. And he found that in many cases, Progressive and Insurance is charging more for females in terms of the quotes than for the males. Now, there were some of them, like Allstate and AAA, where it was similar. So he's just saying that in some of these cases, there's this huge gender bias. And it's pretty disconcerting to have something like that if you have the same driving record.
Now, what about if you're married or not married?
Yeah, so that's interesting. The study did find that it depends on the number of people in the household. That is one of the things in their tables. And so if you're a single mom, for example, and you're not married, you would be charged or pay more than if you were exact everything else the same if you were married. So now think about this. As a female, there's a gender pay gap. If I'm a single female, in addition to that, I'm trying with my income to pay for my family, and then I'm getting charged more. So this is like the tip of a gender stereotyping iceberg.
Now, most of us think that it's our driving record that should make a difference in our car insurance rate. If you're somebody who's, constantly speeding and wrecking cars, et cetera, that you would be penalized for that. So why are any of these things, being married or unmarried, even weighing into it?
So it's so interesting that you asked that, Donna. So I sort of Googled some of these two companies' articles. So, for example, Esurance and Progressive, who had up to 38% higher rates. And Esurance, the first article, talked about how men should pay more for auto insurance because of the things you mentioned, LaDonna, which is they're more risk-taking, they have more speeding tickets, they have more DUIs and accidents. And so that makes me really scratch my head and say, if I'm a leader or an executive at Progressive or Esurance, I'm thinking, okay, now what's the deal here? What's the reason that there's such a mixed message here? And that's my advice to the female consumer, to any consumer. As a society, there's this 5 judgments. It's a stereotyping framework of how people are biased against entire groups. So as a society, we tell our women to be pleasant, to be obedient, to be docile. And I'm saying do the opposite. Shop around, be vocal, be assertive, believe that you can negotiate. Are you afraid to walk in and buy a car as a female versus a man walking in to buy a car? So that's my advice.
So how do you know if you're being penalized for something other than your driving?
Yeah, that's a great question that you don't really know it. So that would be my advice, is when you're shopping around for the quotes, if this study in Michigan says that Allstate and AAA doesn't have gender disparity, then I would shop around not just for lowering premiums, because Michigan has the highest average auto insurance premium in the entire United States. And the good news is, San Diego is not that high, like $1,000 less. And so I would say just shop around and make sure you're a savvy consumer. Even for simple things, this is, as I said, the tip of the iceberg. If you walk into a Walmart or a Target, there's something called a pink tax. What does that mean? You go in and look for a deodorant. The same product costs $2.99 for a man, and the same product with a pink cover is $4.29. I mean, so there is this approach. It's called shrink it and pink it. So as a consumer, I'd say let us be savvy and understand that this is happening.
Yeah, I buy men's deodorant. I do not mess around with that stuff. All right.
Go, LaDonna.
Thank you so much, Debjani Biswas, on a little bit of a gender issue in the insurance industry. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. My pleasure. Have a good one.
You too.